Welcome to Startup Club. We have almost 900,000 members strong. We're going for 1 million members. So if you're not already a member of Startup Club, please join the club. You can go to Clubhouse, join Clubhouse if you're listening to this in podcast, and click on the greenhouse or type in the word Startup Club and join the club. It's free to join and almost 1 million members strong. Welcome, Michelle. I think it's going to be an exciting show. And Jeff, welcome to the show today. Our club is run by Michelle Van Tilburg, who's here, and our fellow moderator Jeff Sass, Mimi Ostrander, who writes the blogs, and Olivia Valdez, who runs the marketing. And I'm Colin C. Campbell, and you're listening to Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed. We are, again, a live show on Clubhouse and a syndicated podcast. So you can find 88 episodes. This is our 88th episode, and you can find all of them in your favorite podcast channel.
I think it's Lucky 88, they say, Colin.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be fun today. I think we're going to do
I
a
know.
total open mic 2023 predictions. If you're in the audience and you want to come on stage and make a prediction of, what are some good opportunities for startups in 2023, this is a great show for you to participate on. And if you think this topic's valuable as well, right at the very bottom, there's that share button. I'm just going to click that there. Share on Clubhouse. I'm the first to share there. And if you're on stage or you're in the audience, please share that button with others on Clubhouse so that we can get as many people on stage here today as possible and talk about 2023 predictions. If you've missed the last episode on ChatGPT, and I know we're going to get into that again today, AI is the hot topic of the month. But we're going to get into that today, I know that. But if you missed the last episode, it was phenomenal. We had on probably around 25 speakers, and it was about 2 hours and 20 minutes long. Again, go to your favorite podcast channel, and you can just listen to that. We talked about so many use cases for Chat GPT, and all of the members came on and talked about how they used it for their business or how they used it to start a new business. And today, again, I know we'll be talking about that, right, Michelle and Jeff? Have you two played with Chat GPT or DALI from OpenAI?
Yes, just a little bit, just beginning to tap the surface here and trying to do a lot of reading about the capabilities. It's really amazing. And the folks over there at ChatGPT, I think they did a really smart thing by releasing it and making it available to the public.
Yeah, it's so many different ways. I've tried doing lots of different things with it, from creating articles, blog posts, poetry, changing the styles of the poetry, making them funny, to having letters written in foreign languages that I don't speak, business letters. I actually, over the holiday last weekend, I visited my dad, who is 87 years old and still a practicing attorney. And his biggest client is actually a Dutch company. And in fact, he just got back from Amsterdam visiting with them. And he wanted to send them a note to thank them for the work they've done this year. And instead of using Google Translate and having him write a letter, I simply typed into Chat GPT as I was showing it to him and trying to blow his mind with the AI. And I just typed in, write a letter to in Dutch to my client, thanking them for the work they did on such and such case or whatever, and like 2 or 3 sentences, and it wrote a whole letter with a beautiful New Year's message in Dutch, which he sent to them, and they immediately responded, quite surprised that he was able to communicate so clearly with them in their language for a change, because he's been their attorney for probably 35 years, and I don't think he's ever written them a note in Dutch before. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to get serious. So when we first started playing with ChatGPT, we were doing some fun things, punch in, make a poem, do this or that and the other. But recently I've used it to craft emails. Also, I was with my nephew on the holidays, and he's a professional comedian, and we were talking about a particular routine. It was actually an idea I came up with that he should be having fun with, which is using a smartphone in the washroom and or the restroom. And so we said, hey, why don't we just type it in? We said, write comedy routine for the following. And it was actually really good. And then he said, well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all my comedy routines, I'm going to put them through here and see if it can give me some additional ideas. This machine learning, like the way that ChatGPT works, is it goes beyond just an editor. And if you haven't already tried it out, you really should sign up to it and use it. I think this particular technology, and I'll include DALI in this as well, is going to transform industries as we know it. It really will make productivity for customer service, sales scripts. There's so many areas where this technology can touch. I think the 2020s are going to be known for those years of big changes in the world related to AI and how entrepreneurs or startups use that technology to launch their new business or within their existing business, use it to accelerate their business or make it more efficient. We are talking about a huge paradigm shift and just so excited that we heard about it early on and the community at Clubhouse and Startup Club has been really getting into it. And I know we'll probably have some more shows dedicated to GPT. If you want to come on stage and talk about, please raise your hand. It's Friday afternoon, and we're talking about predictions for 2023. And there you go. I just threw that one out there that this AI technology is going to be transformative in 2023, and I believe maybe the most transformative technology in 2023. And I'd like to hear from you as well. And we're not going to hold you to it. We're not going to make you come back next year and say, hey, you were wrong. You totally got that one wrong. And I'd also love to hear from some NFT because I know when we did this show last year, it was all about NFTs. Like it was like we had 10 people come on and talk about NFTs, and then we came up with maybe 10 other different potential trends for 2022. But it was really all about NFT. Is today going to be all about AI and ChatGPT and DALI? So we have
And others, and
and
others.
others too, and there's other AI out
Yeah.
there as well that's making a lot of progress. I think this is the one that's getting a lot of the attention. And we have a newbie on stage. Hey, I'll tell you what, since you came on stage, you're brave, Habib. I'm going to follow you. And of course, anyone who comes on stage, we'd love to follow you. And we also would like to invite those who come on stage on a regular basis into our startup VIP club, or which is one of the houses we have. We only have 2,000 limited spots. If you have almost 1 million members, it's hard to get everybody into that club. But we would like to invite you in that if you're actively involved in Clubhouse and you come on stage a lot. And I know, hell yes, you've been on stage before as well. So we should definitely invite you into the club. But Habib, your first time here, and the mute button's on the bottom right. Do you have a prediction for 2023? And if you're not, mute button's right on the bottom right. I know you're new. We'll give you a minute to catch up, but hell yes, do you want to give us your prediction?
Well, sure. And Michelle, thanks for bringing me up. I always have something to say. Um, I go back to 1965, the movie The Graduate. And that movie made $100 million back in the 60s. And you can sum that movie up by saying the word plastics. If you're old like me, you remember The Graduate, and it was about plastics. Y'all agree? Then
Yeah,
yesterday,
I remember that. Yep, I
yeah.
remember exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So this weekend, my wife and I were amongst the 12 people that went to go see Babylon at the grand opening. And without getting into the movie, it's about when the silent filmmakers in Hollywood, the biggest filmmakers in Hollywood, scoped out the brand new Al Jolson talking movies. And he came back to the Hollywood set and he goes, "Oh my God, the future is never going to be the same. This is going to it's going to generational event." And I put it forward that AI is our generational event. It's going to just simply change the way our future is from the way silent movies did to the talkies. I'm Hal. Thanks for giving me the mic.
No, I can't. I agree with you. I mean, and there are technology shifts that come along from time to time. We saw it with the advent of dial-up internet in the 90s, broadband in the 2000s, which brought about cloud computing. and the concept of cloud computing. And then we saw it with app developments. We saw it with social media. But for the last 10 years, we really haven't seen much transformative other than blockchain. Okay, so blockchain was definitely one of the big ones there. I still believe in blockchain and the potential of cryptocurrencies, and I'm not so certain about NFTs. But I definitely I'm there on blockchain and the applications that blockchain can deliver on the internet is huge. And then now though, we're talking about another step forward. It just how it from my perspective, like I'm a little bit confused because 3 months ago no one was talking about this, and then DALI 2 and Chat GPT 3.5 came out early November, and it just exploded. And now it's probably one of the hottest topics of in this club at least, where people are trying to figure out opportunities. What are some of the opportunities you think that startups might be able to use with this AI technology you're talking about?
It's a great question. I think if you separate it into the written and then you separate it into the visual, those are huge separate AI channels. And then you put it into the lead aggregation. It's about getting their attention, making them like something, and then giving them urgency to complete the transaction now. So I think it's going to help drive what made Amazon famous, the if you like that, you're going to love this approach of online shopping. That's one small area, but we could probably talk forever. I'm curious what the rest of your group thinks that Chat GPT and AI is going to be for 2023.
Hey, Jeff or Michelle, you want to come in? Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think productivity, which I know there's pros and cons to this, and there's a lot of people that are very upset about the whole AI/chat GPT because they think, oh my God, everybody's going to become like an idiot and they're not going to use their brain. But I would challenge us to think about how we use it to actually improve our brain, right? To expand beyond what we can currently do because we're trying to build, the most simplest code base or the most simplest model. What I'm reading is there's some phenomenal use cases that people are already, big companies that are already starting to do, specifically in spaces like fintech, where there's some very sophisticated algorithms to help determine credit worthiness, risk assessment. And I'm even seeing things today. I'm reading about credit counseling and psychological counseling. There's like so many use cases. And obviously, I think most of us here are pretty up on these things, but it's able to do this because, it's an LLM, right? It's a large language processor. So it's consuming massive and massive. It reminds me of Star Trek, really, where it knows everything, so to speak. I'm not saying there aren't errors. Of course there are. But just being able to tap into that knowledge base and expedite maybe an invention it's really, quite astounding. And it's so impressive that the folks over at OpenAI have taken this move, I think, to really open up people's eyes when, clearly it's in use on very large scales in other areas. But I think people, like us here in the Startup Club, it really presents some nice opportunities for us, whether it be a new company or just like making our life or our company that we currently have better.
Yeah, I think, one of the other opportunities is to develop a new skill set, because to the extent that these AIs are tools, right? Just like a word processor, just like Excel. And while all of us can use an Excel spreadsheet, some of us are wizards at Excel spreadsheets and know how to do macros and different types of tables and all sorts of interesting tricks that you can do with a spreadsheet. So everyone has access to the same tools, but not everyone is capable of using the tools as well as everyone else. And I think with AI, especially now, people are learning how to create the right queries. So when you think about the questions over Dolly, Colin, you brought up Dolly and AI generated art. Um, Part of the art now becomes knowing what queries are going to give you the result you're looking for and getting skilled, becoming talented at understanding how to query an AI tool is going to become a very valuable skill. And some people will be better at it than others, even though we all have access to that tool. So I think there are a lot of opportunities in becoming skilled at using these tools, just like there were opportunities to become skilled at using Excel.
Yeah, I do know that one technique you could use with Dali, and I remember, Michelle, you were looking at this once, potentially at doing an NFT for Meowingtons and showing different variations of Milton the cat, doing different things, and it was more of a club than a typical NFT. What you're thinking about, but just the fact that it could generate the variations and do hundreds and hundreds of variations at a time at almost pennies. They cost pennies to do a search here. I was looking at those rates. They were, I think, when you get commercial rates of around less than 2 cents to do a query. The costs were very minimal. I know they have a free service right now, but they limit the number of searches or requests that you can make. And I do think that maybe this is going to help NFTs. And and I'm sort of coming at a step here, and I do want to get to you, Emmett. But NFTs, and maybe anyone on stage right now have any thoughts on NFTs and how maybe this could help NFTs or hurt NFTs, or are NFTs dead in 2023?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. And one thing that I have been reading is actually it's kind of they want to actually call it not non-fungible tokens, but they're like non-transferable tokens. And I know Jeff has experienced this. This is like using NFTs actually to authenticate and verify your identity. So I think, like everything else, NFTs is actually evolving, and there are some solid use cases for them, where it could almost be your identity, your reputation that you can lock down. And for me personally, I like NFTs in that format.
I'm finding a lot of this is kind of like the record player. You can change the type of music you put on your record player, or piano music for
We're
GPT yet.
losing
So
you,
we're all
Matt.
making up our own score.
Yeah. Okay. So, Rossi or Emmett or Arnold or Abo or A. Sorry if I'm getting the names wrong, but
Hey there.
I just want to hear from you if you thought some thoughts on NFTs
Yeah,
and
I'll pop
and
in.
the Chat GPT or Dolly before we move on to some of the other potential trends. And we want to hear from what your predictions are as well. But I just wanted to see if we can cover that.
I'll pop in really quickly since NFTs were brought up and I just landed here on stage. Well, first of all, I agree with the general sentiment that that the Chat GPT era that is upon us is going to have like ramifications that we really cannot quite wrap our heads around yet as individuals or as a society. And I think it's going to surprise even the most forward thinking of us just how it impacts. um, we have some pretty good ideas about the first passes of impact that are going to be made. And but I really I have this strong inclination that when GPT-4 rolls out sometime in 2023, it's going to be, the sea change was the GPT 3.5 for sure, but the GPT-4 is going to really put it into this category of like, you're not going to really be able to entirely differentiate between human and AI. material anymore, and depending on how it's used. As for NFTs, I think NFTs have ridden a very predictable um, cycle that tends to happen to, exciting new technologies. It gets super hyped. A lot of, there's a lot of exciting, real new advances in innovation and technology going on. And then there's, of course, the onslaught of grifters and every sort of variety of you know grifters, and also people just trying to make a buck, which is not necessarily a bad thing by any stretch. And it's suffering the same sort of fate as crypto as it right now, which is basically a fate of the way that it's public perception and market value and market share. But I really think the technology is, in the same position that it was a year ago. It's just as exciting. It's just as revolutionary. It's just as going to happen one way or another. I think the way that NFTs are going to uh, impact us is going to be very different than how it has thus far. I mean, I'm repping one of my CryptoPunk NFTs as a profile picture, and I enjoy very much that sort of side of it. I've been uh, involved in this space since 2016 or so. I got this very punk that you can see in 2017, so I'm definitely an early adopter on that front. But I don't think that art and PFPs and things of that nature are going to be the end stop for NFTs. I really think we're about to see the next layer of protocol integration with our with regular life. And where the two overlap, I think, is probably going to be some form of using a blockchain to indicate or determine whether or not material that we're seeing and hearing and listening to is authentic or not, or at least is created by people or by machine. And there may be some way to sort of use blockchain technology to ensure that you're seeing material that's real. I'm not sure how that's going to be implemented, but that's sort of the gist of what I expect to see from 2023.
I love the way you sort of combine that together, like because that is an issue with where does the stuff originate from and who actually owns it. But bringing blockchain in to solve that problem, helps. Combining those two is interesting. I know, Amit, you have an idea around creating master classes, and I have a friend who wrote an ebook 2 days ago on how to write the perfect press release, and he used ChatGPT to help him. So I'm curious. I saw your chat there. What your thoughts are on that as well.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing with. I don't know if anybody else got an error message from ChatGPT like, "Hey, you did more than limited request in 1 hour, so stop." So I used it like a lot last couple of days. And yeah, I put a link in it, which my background is in like technology. I help startups build things, but at the same time, in parallel, I started creating like career coaching courses. And the third one I was creating, which is like how to be a manager. It was a long one. It was like 93 slides. The previous courses for like 30 slides, it took me like 4 weeks. This one, I did it in 4 days. So I think one of my prediction about NLP or natural language processing or even Chat GPT will be more like how we think about internet right now. I think nobody knows how it, or very few people knows how actually it works, right? Where the data is coming when you do the Google search and stuff, but they are using it as a second nature. I think using machine learning tools like Chat GPT would be like a second nature for all the pretty much all jobs. Like, and I'm not talking about only content creators who wants to do and if you see my videos, I use text to speech. So I don't for this specific one, I didn't use my own voice. Then I was looking at a couple of platforms which does like text to video, like it will feel like somebody is talking. So not only replacing like or not replacing, but like empowering content creators or writers or voiceover artists and stuff. But I think it will be very common to, let's say, if you are a product manager or somebody who needs to communicate via email. I don't know if you guys tried that, but just write like this, for example. Okay, I just opened a ticket on Firebase because I had some issue with my database. Instead of writing a whole paragraph, all I did like, this is the issue. This node has a problem. Write me an email, and it wrote me like 3 paragraph email. So I think on your day to day, it will be a second nature where you won't look at AI as like some technology. You will look at AI as like your friend who you are, or somebody who you hired for free to help you do your day to day job. So I think that will become more of a norm in terms of this year's AI thing. Yeah, sorry for the
Yeah,
ramble,
and
but yeah.
as you no, it's good because as you gave me another idea, you said you put a PowerPoint slide in 96 slides together, and so I went on there and just typed on ChatGPT, write a PowerPoint slide for the benefits of joining Startup Club, and I put learning from experts, connecting with other founders, connecting with investors, selling more products and services, and then it wrote out each of the bullet points and laid it out, and I could literally just cut and paste and put that into PowerPoint. And it's interesting. Like there's just every time we talk about this topic, and I know we're gonna have another show on this one as well, because there is so much interest in, and it is so transformative in nature. But every time I listen, we learn about new ways of using the technology, and that's another one right there. All right, we want to move on to Arno. Arno, how do you pronounce your name? Arno, is it
Yeah, it's
Arnold?
simple. It's R no.
Arno.
It's
Okay,
French. It's
very
supposed to
good.
be complex and complicated.
What's
Hey,
your prediction for 2023?
long time listener, first time speaker. So I tend to I've sort of dove in head first into many YouTube sort of courses and trainings and predictions. So, on the macro, I think that it's going to change the way that we do business, the way we interact with each other. But I tend to think more in the micro, quite frankly. And, what's my application for me? How am I going to use this, myself? And I happen to be in the hospitality industry, short-term rental to be specific. And in my field, I see this helping us operators in 3 ways. Number one, content. I think Amit talked about it. Growing your brand via social media, using the tools, the text to video, the content specific to travel and hospitality. That's content. Number one. Number two, customer service. I see this replacing uh, fortunately and unfortunately a number of customer service agents. I happen to use a lot of foreign based virtual assistants. I can templatize my messages now. I can templatize all my responses. I can code it to make sure that if guest asked A B, the answer is going to be C D, so on and so forth. So customer service, I see this in the long term, helping me sort of be more efficient from a cost perspective and quite frankly even be more accurate. And then third, in terms of growth, sales, I do a lot of outreach via social media, via email. I can automate my outreach now directly to prospects and hit a number of people en masse, if you will. Personally, so that's from a business application standpoint. Personally, I look forward to learning new stuff, with the help of AI. I think Michelle touched on that. I'm interested in a number of various topics. You can synthesize, books, encyclopedias in 5 minutes. At least give me enough to be dangerous and know a bit about the subject. Not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly I'd like to increase my knowledge of various things, and I see this being one of those. And I'll leave you with two quick ideas, and these are ideas that I can't act on. I think Amit talked about it. One could be, I work with in my day-to-day job, I work with a translation agency, which charges us in the tens of thousands a year. This can effectively replace part of that. You could create a translation agency at a fraction of the cost that most agencies, charge major companies. Number one. Number two, remote training courses. I think it's the Khan Academy that has a YouTube sort of academy where they teach anything from math, English, biology, you name it, with this technology and harnessing it correctly. I can see one creating, a whole series of courses and trainings for people that are not able to access it via the regular, education system or just remote. So those are a few of my prediction. Very fascinated by it. Look forward to engaging with more conversation with this group this year and into next year.
Yeah, I was trying to pin the PowerPoint. I just posted on LinkedIn, but it's not working there. The link there. But in any case, it's interesting you talk about the short-term vacation rental. I don't think there's an industry that is not going to be affected by this AI technology. We run a short-term vacation rental company called Escape Club, and we have about 20 properties in that particular business. And what I did once is I actually went to Chat GPT and I said, write a funny review of sunsetescape.club. So that's the domain that points to a listing. And I was amazed at what it did. It actually wrote a review, talked about someone burning themselves in the sun. First of all, it must have gone to the website. It understood that we have dogs, we allow dogs, that it's right on the beach, and so they talked about how the sand got in the house, and it was like all these stories that were not true. And of course, it was a very positive review, and it was just really something else to see. I'm not saying we should all be writing fake reviews by going to ChatGPT to save time, but it's interesting how it can actually look at a website and grab information from that and then use that as well to create the story. Oh wow! Last year's NFT, this year's GPT, right? All right, Abo. We're working on name pronunciation today. Abo or Ibo, what is your prediction for 2023? I know you're off mute, but I can't hear you right now. Okay, Michelle, are you able to hear Ibo or was just my...
No, I cannot hear him either. So I think we should go on. And now we're taking any ideas for discussion of game changers, new, technology, whatever it might be for 2023. So what's your idea? And I think we should go to AI. AI ghostwriter. Okay, your
You
mute's
were
on the.
ghosted by the ghostwriter,
I
Michelle.
know. What happened? Oh my gosh. All right, let's go over to Morris.
Thank you,
Morris,
Michelle. Thank you,
awesome.
Michelle. Thank you, Colin, Jeffrey, everybody. I'm a friend from Brazil. I'm 50 years old, living and working in different countries for the last 25 years. I think 2023 is going to be awesome because there is this new tool that will help a lot of people. Um, but I think there's too much noise when it comes to AI and all these technologies. And so I invite everyone who wants to start a business or help someone grow their businesses to try to get away from the noise and listen to the music. Because at the end of the day, I got to be able to understand if I am passionate about something or if I'm competent about something. And so I love this sentence that says, never confuse passion with competence. And as a consultant, as a professor, this is something it must be clear in my mind and in my heart because I am teaching young minds to navigate the world to be able to build things in a constructive way. And the best way to do it is teaching them how to understand that new tools will always come up. And I have to understand that for some things, I'm very mediocre. And I have no trouble saying that. I'm a mediocre cook. I'm a mediocre ice skater, but I'm very competent to many of the things that matter to me. And so when people talk about ChatGPT, NFT, wow, these are opportunities. These are new opportunities. If you have all your things in place If you have a strong network, if you join these rooms with smart people, you're going to be able to differentiate the noise to the music. And so I'm very optimistic, and I wish you all a happy new year. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's very interesting. I think those are some wise words. You know, we often think of these technologies as being so transformative that we throw out the old rules. And the fact is, rules are universal. We had on the founder of Reebok 2 weeks ago, and he talked about how his business went from 9 million to 900 million in 5 years. And the twerking moment, as Jeff calls it, the twerking moment or the big break came when Jane Fonda wore his shoes in a national TV exercise workout and aerobics, doing aerobics. And the fact is, and they didn't pay for her to do that, but you know what? She was actually an influencer. And influencer marketing is a whole concept that we think was invented in the last 10 years. But the fact is, it was around 30, 40, 50 years ago. And a lot of these marketing principles, a lot of the business concepts, they're pretty universal. They last from decade to decade. And even if we have new technology, it doesn't mean we throw out all those learnings from those years. I'm curious, Morris. You said you're a professor, and I went into ChatGPT and I said type out a an essay on how the pyramids were built. It typed it out, and I cut and pasted it, put it on the internet, and could not find it. It looked like it was came from somewhere on the internet, like Wikipedia or something, but I could not find a duplicate. I could not find. It didn't appear to be copied from somewhere else. Is this going to be an issue for, like, how are professors going to deal with students who just use ChatGPT to write their essays?
I think that for mediocre professors, yes, but for competent educators, no. Because our goal as educators is not to answer questions, is not to focus on tasks, homework. Our goal as an educators is try to bring reality, the real world to the classroom, and create teams where different people from different regions, from different provinces, from different, let's say, backgrounds, they're able to understand how they can contribute to what has been built, what's happening, and what's going to happen. And that requires a lot of self, let's say, knowledge, curiosity, hours of study, researching, traveling. It requires not just to be a theorist. I don't know if this word is in English, but you gotta connect the theory with the practice. You gotta have your network. And so I believe, and these are not my words. These are words from my professors that I had and mentors during my life. It's like automatization replaces mediocre tasks. Okay, it may sound a little harsh, but let's remember, I am mediocre in many things, but I cannot be mediocre in what really matters to me. And so I don't consider myself a mediocre educator for the feedback I have from my students and my bosses and my supervisors. But if one day I'm a mediocre guy, I'm a mediocre educator, I'm not going to be able to understand my role in the classroom. And then all these tools from Wikipedia to chat, write an essay to me about the history of AI, write an essay to me about Alan Turing, for instance. I'm not going to be able to understand how to use that. So I get your question, Colin, because I see a lot of educators like not understanding that technology is an excellent tool to use in the classroom. But you got to know how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, educate yourself. Ask. Don't be arrogant thinking that you have all the answers. And so that's why I always tell my students, like, if you are not leading something, help someone who is leading the change. Sometimes we are the leaders, sometimes we are helping the leaders. And I think this is very constructive for society in general, for education, for families, for everyone who wants to be part of this change, this constant change. I don't know if I answered the question, but
No, it was wise advice.
some.
I think that was really wise advice for all of us, and sort of puts it a little bit more in perspective. And I think we appreciate that. Jose, you're next up with a prediction for 2023. We'd love to hear from you what your thoughts are around new opportunities for startups or founders in 2023.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me up to this room. My name is Jose Burgos. I'm out here in Southern California. And my prediction for 2023 is digitization. Finally, businesses are going full digitization. Merchant services are starting to open portals and open gates to be able to transact across the world. And we're starting to see that digital payment system is starting to take effect. And people need to learn how to play with the wallet. A lot of people still see the wallet as a new thing. They don't know how to store their keys. They don't know how to create a hard wallet. They don't know how to create the security. And another thing within this digitization is security. Make sure you guys protect yourself. Remember, everything is going e-file, you guys. And using these GPTs and these AI algorithms that we can use, it's creating a systematic system that we're able to get the information in lightning speed faster than when web was developed and web was released. Now we're able to ask a question like if we're talking to a digitized AI system that can go out light speed onto the intranet and bring back the information and the correct data that is going to create calculations for your business, your day to day, your money expenditures. All that literally can be calculated instantly now without us having to look out and resource somewhere else or be in a boardroom and assume that this business is going to make this much when you can grab all that data, put it through an AI algorithm, and it's going to bring you back true numbers and forecast those numbers for you instantly in seconds and minutes. And that's the beauty about the tools that we have. Now, can these tools be used for good and bad? Yes. The bad part, we don't want to talk about it, but for the good part, at least we want to know that if you have a specific business or you're a salesperson or you're a marketing agent, now you can type in these tactics that you want to do into these AI GPT algorithms and not use what's being portrayed to you, but use that as a template to be able to design your idea better to where it's actually focused on true data. So again, like I explained back in the chat, data is gold. That's why Google created Lambda. That's why Facebook created Meta. Remember, data is gold, you guys. So learn to keep your data off the cloud. Learn to keep your data safe. Start storing your data into hard drives, making sure that this business information that you have, that you created, is yours. And if you want to share it, you share it. If you don't, you could sell it. And this is the beauty about the internet with NFTs and all these digital programs that are coming out. Thank you very much for listening to me. My name is Jose here in Southern California. If anybody needs any digital help getting their business digitized for 2023, just give me a DM and I'll be able to guide you guys and give you information to help you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point about the wallets, and I had the opportunity to try to buy an NFT. It was just really a project to go through the process of doing it, and it was probably one of the more complex transactions I've ever made in my life. And the number of different things I had to set up, and it was confusing. I'll be quite frank. And sometimes the opportunity for enterprising individuals is to simply make something that's confusing and complex easy. And if you can do that, then you can open up the audience to a much larger audience and play a role of an intermediary where you're taking a core technology like wallets or GPT or whatever it is, and you're applying it in a specific way and you're making it very easy for an end user to interact with your company. I think sometimes that's an opportunity. Oh, Jose, I'm just going to come back to you on that wallet issue. To me, I think that's actually something that's held a lot of people back in adoption of NFTs or some of these other crypto technologies. Are you seeing improvement in the ease of use to setting up and interacting with these? Like you're young and you figure it out, but I'm telling you, it's not easy for most people.
No, it's not. It's a difficult thing. That's why I tell people now to start learning about the wallet system. Learn what MetaMask is, learn what crypto.com is, learn what Coinbase. Those are the straight three most easy platforms to use. Try to use these wallets and figure them out how they work and then start learning the security layers because it's not about creating a wallet. You could have created a wallet in an NFT and I can hack into your wallet and take your NFT away, then what? You didn't know how to secure yourself. You have it all out in the open. I could probably bet money that you didn't transfer that NFT into your wallet. You created a wallet and you bought an NFT, but you left the NFT on the platform and didn't put it inside your wallet. So now that NFT is vulnerable. Those are the kind of things that I'm explaining to people. And another thing too, if you guys notice these stimulus that are starting to come to you in a debit card, be careful, you guys. Don't learn your wallet. The government will imply a wallet on you. Remember, that's what's
Yeah.
going to happen. They're
You know, one of
digitizing themselves.
Jose, one of the issues I had with the wallet is I have a cold storage. It was just for fun. I do these things for fun. I put it somewhere in the house and I don't know where it is right now. One day it'll probably my grandkids will find it. Who knows?
But
But it's in one of the books in one of the bookshelves.
but even
But
if
I forgot where I put
let's
it.
just say
Whereas the stuff on Coinbase, I know I haven't lost. At least I can access it through double authentication and all those other technologies. But
the beautiful thing about a wallet is that if you use the physical wallet itself, but you know your key phrases, you can imply those key phrases onto another wallet and it will confirm the information and transfer from that wallet to your wallet. That key phrase is the most important thing to allow that wallet to stay alive in a digital format. It doesn't mean that you implied it onto a hardware system. It's that key phrase that you can start jumping that data from hardware to hardware in a safe manner.
Yeah, I think there's so much innovation, to your point, Jose, in the whole payment segment. One thing I'm curious if you're following is the Fed Now. If you're familiar with that, that's the Federal Reserve is implementing a whole new payment system that's real-time settlement, which is a huge thing for the U.S. and any of the businesses around, that are waiting on wires and ACH transfers. I think, there's some pretty big enabling technologies that are going on in the background that are going to make that whole space move forward.
Yes, that's MonoPay, and that's another. Those are portals that the merchant services are being implied into a PCI compliancy that they have been running for several years. I'm in the digital world. I've been doing point of sale. I've been working with merchant services for about 17 years, and I know the change and how they're doing it. The government doesn't know how to imply what this digital currency implies on. So they're starting to implement people like us that have these large servers that are completely hashing cryptocurrency. They're creating us as a merchant service provider. We're paying 23% tax on the money that we hash out. You know what I mean? So at this point right now, it's changing, you guys. It's changing. It's changing pretty quick. And yes, the Federal Reserve is on top of it. They've been creating the CBDC. That they're taking too long. That other countries like Brazil, they're starting to implement their own CBDC. China, they're doing their own CBDC. Russia is doing their own CBDC. El Salvador already created their own CBDC based on Bitcoin only. So that's why El Salvador has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on Bitcoin. It's not because it's trying to bail out Bitcoin, it's trying to keep the coin reserved amount numbers of coins in that country. So when the Bitcoin does become bullish again, they're able to use that monetization, that monetized money to work with their people.
Yeah, wow. Like we're learning a lot here just from listening to you. We need another show just on this. All right, we do want to AI's back on stage. We want to give AI another chance. AI ghostwriter, copywriter. Would love to get your name, AI, as well, if that's it.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Perfectly.
Thank you. Thank you, Colin and Michelle and Jeffrey. Yeah, well, Morris gave a master class on my thoughts. It's not going to be about um, what you produce. It's going to be what you can show, what you can prove people, how you can serve, which has always been my whole thing. Chat GPT, like anything else, it's going to be it's great. It's proven great for productivity, but productivity isn't everything because I would like to think that those of us in here who are married, you didn't just, marry no sooner than you met someone. It took time. Relationships had to be developed. And how we serve people should be treated with the very same respect. Um, we have to prove what we know. We have to prove who we are. And we have to prove what we say that we can deliver. And chat gpt will be no different. It's like a calculator, kind of like Jurassic Park. It's great to fill in the DNA, so to speak, but the ideas have to come from you. The work has to come from you. You still have to read, you still have to have conversations, and you still have to serve, and you still have to fail, and then learn from those failings, and then turn around and give your people, um again, what you claim, what you promise. And ChatGPT, like anything else, will prove that. um that's why I've been beefing up or increasing my output as far as on like LinkedIn articles and whatnot, because I have to come up with another argument for the people who go, oh, I'm not paying all that money for a book when my cousin or so and so can do it. Well, that's great. But just know that you'll, be amongst the many thousands and thousands of people who have a book within the Amazon Kindle space with zero reviews. So uh, I'm just riding off the coattail of Morris's excellent masterclass, because that's the exact point. When the Chat GPT smoke clears, the true creatives and the true creators are the ones who's going to emerge.
Yeah, it's interesting. Uh, we've been working on getting a book out called Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. We signed a publishing deal with Forbes Advantage, and the actual release date is October 3rd, 2023. The book's complete, and it's gone for second or third editing. But I've worked with a professional editors in putting the book together, and decided to take a chapter from that book and put it through ChatGPT and see what came out. And I have to say that our version was better. Now, if you would expect that to be the case, after spending and investing years in a project like this particular book. But the fact is, the way that we wrote it is more, I'm going to say it's more human. It's less polished. It's more like edgy and more to the point. Not as, whereas ChatGPT sometimes can sound, for lack of a better term, almost like corporate speak.
Well,
But
That
it's because
that part.
am I on the right track here with
yes,
what you're thinking
you're
and what you're
right.
talking
That
about?
part.
Yeah, the Chat GPT doesn't have emotions. Just compared to you wrote the book,
Yep.
you wrote it with emotion, with a human thought. Chat GPT doesn't have that yet. She hasn't built emotion yet. So she will soon in due time. The more and more data we keep using, the more and more she'll start figuring out emotions between everybody's writing.
But authenticity, I know, we had this with Samantha Glover at the GPT session. A phenomenal show. If you get a chance, go check out the Serial Entrepreneur Secrets Revealed podcast. It was our last show. It was our highest attended show of the year. And Samantha Glover, who's a data scientist, we interviewed her, and she talked about how it's emulating that. So even though we kept pushing back, she says, well, it keeps emulating it and it keeps getting better and better and better. And maybe it does come to a point where we can't differentiate between an authentic story writer and a story written by AI. But I don't think it's quite there yet. And we're all humans, and when you interact with humans, it's a different way. It's a different something than it is, you know, than when you do interact with a computer. And I know, quick and dirty, get emails out, do a little mini ebook. We're not talking about that, but we do want to. We're almost out of time, and I do want to get to another ghostwriter on stage, Nikki. We're having server problems, so if it's going in and out, I apologize. But I've had a lot of messages from Clubhouse in the last hour. Our servers are overloaded. Our servers are overloaded. But Nikki, again, name pronunciation. Can you help us? And your
It's
prediction.
Nikki. Yeah,
All
you
right,
got it.
perfect, perfect.
Yeah,
And
I
your
got some
prediction.
messages. Thank you. I got some messages on my end too. Like it was like saying error, and I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on. So anyway, I'm also a teacher as well, an educator. So I appreciated all those comments about that. And I also, I tell my students all the time, and I will most definitely emphasize this with the, when they find out that AI is like a thing now with ChatGPT. I don't know that many of my students know about it yet, but when they do find out, which I will, likely share some of the information with them, um, I will tell them, I don't care what AI thinks. I want to know what you think, right? That's the main thing. And secondly, AI can never replace humans. It can never replace original thoughts and experiences and feelings. It can't replace your life. And why? Well, that's because, if everything really goes to AI, then the question is, where are the people? Where are the people? So the focus for me always has to be on producing original content. And I liked what the lady AI, the ghostwriter AI lady, said about how, when the dust settles, the true creators will emerge. I just thought that was incredibly powerful because it's true, right? And so you do have to always focus on producing original content yourself, because you don't want, yeah, you kind of have to ask yourself, am I using this chat GPT as a tool, or am I using it as a crutch? And that's definitely not what we want to do, the crutch thing. So and if we stop producing original content, if all of us kind of get very lazy with that, and we start using AI more and more and more and become more dependent on that, then then the content that AI is drawing from, because right now it has decades and decades and decades, of content to draw from on the internet. So it's got so much content to draw from. That's why it appears so intelligent, because it has that original content. But if we all kind of get lazy and stop producing that content, then as she said, the true creators will emerge, and that will be a very small group of people who produce that content and who will be in control of the content that AI brings to you. So that's kind of a scary thought, that a small group of people would, and that's what AI is right now. It's a very small group of people, a very elite group of individuals um, who are working on this, right? They've, like you guys said earlier, this is not a new technology. I was born in 87. I'm a millennial, and we had Smarter Child. That was an AI technology that we used to IM and DM and all that kind of stuff back in the day. So artificial intelligence has been here for a very long time. But again, we don't want to, as a society, to become so dependent on this that we can no longer function on our own thoughts. That's definitely something that's a concern of mine for sure. And if that happens, then we have a problem. So on the job front, I'm not worried about it at all. I think that if the bottom line is this: what you think will happen to you, and that's the key. Is that if you think that AI will take your job, then it will. Right, it will, because that's what you think, and you're right. Whatever you like, who was it? Ford, Henry Ford. Henry Ford said, whether you think it will or whether you think it won't, or whatever the quote was, I'm paraphrasing. He said, you're right, right? So I think that if you think that it's going to take your job, then it will. But if you don't think that it will take your job, and you utilize it as a tool to enhance your business, then you're going to be just fine. So those are my thoughts on it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a conversation with my son who's finishing his last year of architecture about DALI, and we did some tests about, render a house on stilts, and did a pretty good job. I mean, a decent job for rendering for an ideation. And then we began to discuss about, what if the technology could just now lay out all the architectural elements of a home, from plumbing, electrical, every component. And he was like, well, why am I in school? If it's technology is going to, and they're obviously far away from that. And there's a lot of human elements to design and building and interacting with other humans and whatnot, but embracing that technology, embracing the new innovations and working with them, those are the individuals who are going to succeed. And we even talked about using DALI to take a photo of a property and then eliminate the current house and just ideate and show different types of houses that could be put in its place. And so it's an ideation engine right now for architects, and those who embrace it could actually, I think they'll actually do much better with it. I know I'm running out of time, Michelle. I know we have one more speaker, but I know this has been all about GPT today, but and artificial intelligence, but there are other trends that have occurred over the last few years, and I think will continue. And I just want to give a list real quickly here, and then I've got to drop off. But we've seen the rise of micro brands, e-commerce, and it's never been easier in history to start an e-commerce store. We saw that with Meowingtons, with paw.com over the last few years, which companies grew quite rapidly in our own incubator. And we're seeing that over and over again, that you can launch an e-commerce company. And by the way, using artificial intelligence can help you do that in a number of different ways, from press release to social media postings, etc. We've seen the rise of blockchain. We've talked about NFTs, virtual reality, augmented reality. I know Meta has been having some issues with this. It's been struggling. When will that begin to break out? Energy storage. We're seeing a huge opening up in that area. Robotics, drone technology, the metaverse, self-driving vehicles, tokenizing assets like real estate. So instead of just tokenizing non-fungible, tokenizing fungible assets, this is something that we believe, will take off in 2023 and beyond. And then everything green, of course. Online teaching like Masterclass, Udemy, video-based coaching, online counseling, gene editing like CRISPR, cloud computing is going to continue. That digitization, which we talked about earlier, for companies. We're even seeing mobile app development continue to evolve. The sharing economy, Airbnb, VRBO, Turo, BoatSetter, those are taking off. And then we talked a little bit about the Airbnb stuff today. Social audio chat like Clubhouse. This is a relatively new industry, a relatively new technology. I call it niche radio. We have the creator economy, and we have social influencers, and there's a lot of work being done and effort by people to teach others how to become social influencers. Look, 2023 is going to be a phenomenal year. We're coming out of a very rough year. We all know that 2022 is not going to be one of those years we all talk about and fondly remember. It was a rough year, and for many reasons. But 2023 will be a great year, and I'm convinced that there's never been more opportunity to start a business than there is today. Thank you very much, Michelle. I just got to drop off, and I'll let you close out the room. But really enjoyed it, and hope we can invite everyone who came on stage into our VIP club as well. As I think we're going to eventually hold, I think, half-hour sort of meetups once a week, where it's just totally casual and people can talk and chat with other active startup club members and speakers. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you, all the members from Startup Club, and thank you, everyone who joined today. It's been a phenomenal year, and we're looking forward to 2023. So if you haven't already done so, please feel free to join our email list and peruse the massive catalog of sessions and blog posts that we've been able to accumulate at www.startup.club. And I think that's a wrap. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody on this show, which is called Serial Entrepreneur. We're here every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's along with all the other great content that the members provide on a daily basis. So everyone have a wonderful and safe holiday, and we'll see you next Friday. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jeff, and everyone else on the stage.